There's something deeply mysterious about a cat that chooses to sleep near you. It's not just a random gesture of affection or a quirky habit. It's almost as if in those silent moments, something sacred is being communicated. Something beyond logic, beyond science, something divine. Cats have always been seen as spiritual creatures throughout history. In ancient times, they were believed to carry protective energies, to sense danger, and to dwell between the physical and the spiritual realms. But when your cat sleeps next to you, over and over again, maybe it's not just comfort they're seeking. Maybe it's a message you're being invited to hear. Let's take a breath and reflect for a second. Think of the nights when everything felt heavy, but your cat was there, curled up, calm, present. That stillness, that presence, it's not just a coincidence. It could be God's gentle way of reminding you, you're not alone. You see, divine messages don't always come through thunder or visions. Sometimes they come through the quiet purring of a soul that chooses to rest by your side. It's subtle but profound. And if you've been feeling lost, weary, or uncertain lately, this might be exactly what God is using to comfort you. So what is this moment trying to say to you? What is God whispering through this silent companionship? Long before a modern world reduced animals to pets, many cultures revered them as sacred messengers. And among them, cats held a place of deep spiritual importance. In ancient Egypt, for instance, cats were not just companions. They were protectors, guardians of the home, and even symbols of divine presence. They were believed to ward off evil spirits and attract good fortune. But what if those ancient beliefs weren't just mythology? What if they were fragments of a deeper truth we've forgotten? There's something profoundly intuitive about a cat's behavior. They sense your emotions. They show up when you're overwhelmed. They disappear when you need space. And then, quietly, they return to sleep near you, never asking, just being. That kind of presence carries a vibration that echoes something higher, something heavenly. Many spiritual thinkers believe that animals are used by God to communicate comfort, guidance, and warning. And when it comes to cats, their mysterious behavior might not be so mysterious after all. They may be responding to energies, divine or otherwise, that we can't perceive but still affect us. Think about it. A cat doesn't follow noise or chaos. It's drawn to stillness, to peace. And if your cat keeps returning to you in those moments when your heart is tired or your spirit feels low, could that be more than coincidence? Maybe it's a reminder of the spiritual connection between all living beings. Maybe it's a sacred nudge from God, telling you that you're being watched over, that there's harmony in your home, and that your soul is not forgotten. In a world full of distraction, that small, silent companion might be carrying a message louder than anything else around you. Have you ever noticed the way a cat watches you? Not with judgment or need, but with presence? It's as if they know something we don't, as if they're waiting for us to remember something we've forgotten. In spiritual terms, cats are often seen as veil walkers. That is, they live between worlds, the physical and the spiritual. Their calm demeanor hides a heightened awareness. And when a cat chooses to sleep near you, it may be more than affection. It may be a signal that you're not alone. A signal that something in your life needs healing. A signal that your spirit is calling out and being heard. Father Chad Ripperger, a renowned exorcist and spiritual advisor, once mentioned how animals can sometimes react to invisible spiritual realities, both holy and unholy. He described how some pets, especially cats, behave strangely in the presence of spiritual oppression or blessing. They sense it, they feel it, and they respond. So what does it mean when your cat curls up near you at night or rests on your chest when you're anxious? Maybe, just maybe, it's God's quiet way of showing you that his peace is still with you, even if your world feels chaotic. And then there's the silence. Unlike dogs who bark or whine, cats are creatures of stillness. And in spiritual practice, silence is sacred. It's in the silence where God often speaks. So when your cat brings stillness into your life, when they sit beside you in the quiet, they may be inviting you to hear what can't be spoken with words. That moment of calm, that breath of peace, that stillness in the storm. It's not just a pause. It might be a prayer offered without words, but received by heaven. So the next time your cat chooses to lie beside you, don't ignore it. Pause, breathe, listen, Because God might be closer than you think, wrapped in fur and resting by your side. Throughout Scripture, animals are not just part of the background. They're often messengers, protectors, or even symbols of divine intervention. Think about it. God didn't choose a man to sustain Elijah in the wilderness. He sent ravens. When Balaam was blind to the angel blocking his path, it was a donkey that saw it first. And when Noah was called to preserve life, it wasn't just human life. It was all creatures, 2 by 2. So what if cats, in their quiet grace, still carry a piece of that divine mission? The Bible may not specifically mention cats, but its silence does not mean insignificance. In ancient culture surrounding Israel, cats were revered as spiritual guardians, watchers of the night, keepers of balance. And while we don't build doctrine on mythology, we can't ignore how consistently animals have served God's purposes. If a cat chooses you, chooses your home, your presence, it could be heaven assigning you a companion not just for comfort, but for spiritual grounding. In moments when you feel adrift, when prayer feels dry or distant, that cat may show up, not to solve the problem, but to sit with you in it. And in that act, something sacred happens. Even St. Francis of Assisi, known for his deep love for animals, believed they were not just creatures, but reflections of the Creator's gentleness. They teach us patience, presence, compassion without conditions. And when we pay attention, they teach us how to be human again. Some believe animals can sense spiritual darkness. Some believe they bring protection. But beyond speculation, here's what we know for sure. God uses what we least expect, in ways we often overlook, to remind us of his presence. So maybe your cat isn't just sleeping by you. Maybe it's standing between you and something unseen. Maybe it's anchoring your soul when you didn't know it was drifting. Maybe it's a vessel of peace. And if you've ever felt inexplicably comforted by your cat's presence, that's no accident. It might be God, once again, speaking in whispers, soft, quiet, feline whispers. Sometimes, the comfort we need doesn't arrive with thunder or miracles. It doesn't knock at the door with answers. Instead, it curls up beside us, breathes softly, and simply stays. Have you ever been in the depths of sorrow, silent tears, a prayer that felt like it hit the ceiling, and suddenly, without a sound, your cat appears? No drama, no noise, just presence. That's divine timing. There's something sacred about being seen without words. Cats don't speak, yet they understand the moments when your soul is stretched thin. They show up when no one else does. They stay when others can't. And in that stillness, healing begins. God doesn't always respond with loud declarations. Often, his answers come through gentle nudges, a sunset at the right moment, a lyric that echoes your heart, or the quiet purring of a creature resting beside you, as if to say, you're not alone. Isn't it fascinating how, in biblical stories, the greatest revelations happen in stillness? Elijah didn't find God in the wind, the fire, or the earthquake, but in a gentle whisper. And maybe, just maybe, God still speaks through the same softness. Cats remind us to pause, to breathe. They draw us back to the present moment, away from worry, away from regret. And that's often where God is waiting, not in the future we fear or the past we regret, but in the now. And here's something to reflect on. You didn't train your cat to come to you during emotional storms. They just do, instinctively, as if guided, as if sent. So if your cat curls beside you on days you can't explain, touches your face gently when the tears come, or stays near you when everyone else walks away, don't overlook that moment. It might not be coincidence. It might be grace wrapped in fur. It might be divine comfort sent in silence. And it might be the gentle voice of heaven saying, you are seen, you are loved, and I am here. In a world where faith is often doubted and signs are dismissed, a quiet presence like your cat might be one of the most overlooked messages from the divine. Think about this. God created every living being with purpose, intention, and mystery. If the Bible reminds us that not even a sparrow falls without the Father knowing, how much more significant is the constant presence of a creature by your side? The truth is, God doesn't always use lightning bolts or burning bushes to get your attention. Sometimes he sends a small companion who watches you in silence, loves you without conditions, and follows you room to room. not because of food or habit, but because something in their soul resonates with yours. And here's the part many people miss. Spiritual connection isn't just between humans and God. It can manifest in the love we receive from His creation, especially in moments when we are vulnerable, broken, or drifting from hope. That's when the messages become clear. If a cat keeps choosing your presence over and over again, if they find your pillow before you do, if they rest on your chest and their purring slows your heartbeat, you're witnessing more than biology. You're experiencing sacred timing. You're experiencing healing. And perhaps you're experiencing a holy whisper you were never meant to ignore. Maybe that cat in your life wasn't just a rescue. Maybe you were the one rescued. Maybe God sent a soul into your home, not just to fill a space, but to fill a spiritual need you didn't know how to express. And if you've been waiting for a sign, if you've been searching for confirmation, if you question whether heaven hears your silent prayers, just look beside you, because sometimes angels don't come with wings, sometimes they come with fur, and sometimes God's loudest yes sounds just like a purr. When the noise of life quiets down and you're left in silence with your thoughts, there's something about the soft breath of a sleeping cat beside you that speaks louder than any sermon. It's in that silence, when the world is no longer pulling at you, that you begin to hear what heaven has been whispering all along. Maybe God has been trying to reach you, not through signs in the sky or shouts from the mountaintop, but through the ordinary moments that carry divine weight, through that soft nudge on your hand, through the way your cat stays by your side when no one else does, through the peaceful presence that seems to say, "You're not alone." These aren't just coincidences. They're confirmations. They remind you that you are still loved, that heaven still sees you, and that your prayers, yes, even the quiet, desperate ones, are being heard. So if you felt overlooked, forgotten, or distant from your purpose, take this moment as a gentle reminder. You are never truly alone, because maybe, just maybe, that cat sleeping beside you wasn't meant to comfort your loneliness. It was meant to awaken your spirit. If this message touched something in you today, don't let it fade. Hold on to it. Breathe it in. Let it shift the way you see your day, your soul, and even your suffering. And if you know someone who's been struggling in silence, wondering if heaven still speaks, share this video with them. Because sometimes God uses the quietest creatures to deliver the loudest truths. Before you go, take a moment to subscribe, not just for the content, but to walk with us in this deeper journey of meaning, faith, and mystery. Because here at Beyond Yourself, we believe that the smallest signs often carry the biggest truths, and you were never meant to miss them. Thank you for being here. You are loved, you are seen, and yes, you were chosen.